We're going to start with the magic circle. So just take your yarn, drape it across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. You're going to go ahead and bring up a loop, and we're going to make our slip knot, and then you're going to place 6 single crochet into the magic circle, just like we've done before. So 6 single crochet. And then you're going to go ahead and just close up the magic circle, and again we've done this before. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet into each stitch around for 1 round. So 1 round of 1 single crochet into each of the 6 stitches. So you should still have a stitch count of 6. You can go ahead and close the middle circle of the center of the magic circle by pulling on that loose yarn end on the back. Then go ahead and turn your work so that the loose yarn end is on the inside of the little cup that you've created. And at this point you can use your yarn marker. Then you go, lost my yarn marker. Then you're going to make 2 single crochet into the first stitch, and you're going to make 2 single crochet into every stitch around, which will give you a stitch count of 12. So 2 single crochet into each stitch around, which will give you a stitch count of 12. Then go ahead and move your yarn marker up to where you left off. Then just make 1 single crochet into each of the 12 stitches. So 1 single crochet into each stitch, which will still keep a stitch count of 12. Then go ahead and move your yarn marker up for an increase round. So we're going to increase the number of stitches in the round. Right now we have 12 stitches. So for this increase round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 single crochet into the second stitch. And then you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around, back to the yarn marker. So now you should have a stitch count of 18. Then go ahead and move your yarn marker up, and you're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for 6 rounds. So 6 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So after you make 6 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, go ahead and move the yarn marker up, and you can tuck the loose yarn end into the inside of the ear at this point. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then single crochet 2 stitches together. And you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around, back to the yarn marker, 1 single crochet into 1 stitch, and then single crochet 2 stitches together. Repeat that pattern all the way around. So now you should have 12 stitches in the round. Go ahead and move the yarn marker up, and you're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch around for 2 rounds. So 1 single crochet into every stitch for 2 rounds. Then you can go ahead and remove your yarn marker, and then just make a slip stitch into the next stitch over. So just yarn over and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook. Then go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the ear onto the horse's head. So you're going to need 2 ears, and we're not going to sew them onto the head yet, so just set these ears aside. We'll come back to them. We're going to make the body before we sew the ears on the head. So now I'm going to show you how to make the back part of the body. For those that are making the zipper, I'm going to show you how to place the zipper. And if you aren't going to place a zipper on your horse, then you would just continue making the rows. I'll tell you what number of rows to make. And then for those that are making the zipper, I'll tell you what row to stop on so we can add the zipper. So again, this is the back of the horse. Go ahead and take your yarn, the main color, and fold it over on itself to form a loop. Then take your crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and your thumb. Then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for a slip knot. Go ahead and cinch down that knot and then bring the loop around your crochet hook loosely. Then we're going to make a chain. We're going to make a chain of 49, and I'm just going to show you 4 of them on video tutorial. Yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead, finish a chain of 49 and then come back. After you finish your chain of 49, you're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to go into the second chain from the hook. So go into the second chain from the hook and bring up a loop. Then you're going to make a single crochet. Just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through both loops for a single crochet. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch back across. So 1 single crochet into every stitch back across, and then come back. Then when you reach the end and you finish your last stitch, single crochet into the last stitch, go ahead and chain 1 and then turn your work. Then you're going to go into the next stitch over, so you're not going to go into this base stitch right below the chain 1, you're going to go into the next stitch over. And you're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch back across. And you're going to keep repeating this. Now for those that are not adding the zipper, you need 28 rows. And for those that are adding the zipper, stop after row 14. So if you're adding the zipper, stop after row 14 and then I'll help you add the zipper. And then for those that are not adding the zipper, you just continue until you have a total of 28 rows. So I just finished 14 rows. Now you're going to go ahead and get the zipper that you want to use for those that are making the zipper. And you want to see where the zipper is going to lie on the back panel. So here you can see that for my zipper, I'm going to go in 10 stitches for the back portion of my zipper. And you want to make sure that the zipper is going to fit. You're going to be sewing the crochet to this portion on the zipper and also to this portion of the zipper. So once you're sure that the zipper will fit, then you're still going to make your chain of 1. Turn your work, and again this is my 15th row. I made the chain 1. Now I'm going to go into the next stitch for a single crochet just like we did before. So this will count as my second stitch, third stitch. Go ahead and make the number of single crochets that you need. For mine, I'm going to make 1 single crochet into 10 stitches. So I just finished making 1 single crochet into 10 stitches, including my chain 1. Then I'm just going to go check my zipper again and just line it up. So this is where the zipper is going to fall on my work. So I need to chain the length of the zipper. So I'm going to make a chain the length of my zipper. So I'm just going to show you 4 of them and then I'll let you finish the chain. When I come back you'll see the length of mine. So you just make 1, 2, 3, 4. So you continue to make your chain the length of the zipper portion. For mine, I made a chain of 36. So I have a chain of 36, and then you count the stitches. So I'm going to skip 36 stitches. So you want to skip the number of stitches in your chain, which will leave me with 2 stitches left. I'm going to go ahead and just make a single crochet into each of those 2 remaining stitches. So I just finished row 15. So row 15 will have the space to allow for your zipper, to sew your zipper in place. Then you just continue to crochet as like normal. So you chain 1, turn your work, and then this is row 16, and you're just going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch until you finished a total of 28 rows. So you still want the same number of rows as you would without the zipper. So again, you want to complete a total of 28 rows. So you're going to count the rows before the zipper space. So go ahead, continue creating 1 single crochet in every stitch until you have a total of 28 rows, and then come back. The other thing too is make sure you still have the same stitch count when you finish row 16. So I just finished row 16, and I still have 48 stitches to complete the row. So that's what you want to maintain, because our initial chain was 49, but because we went into the second chain from the hook, that created 48 stitches for each subsequent row. For those of you that placed the zipper opening, you should have finished your additional 14 rows for the other half of this is the back portion of the horse. Then for those that didn't place the zipper, you would have a total of 28 rows. And when you finish your last stitch, just go ahead and finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the piece onto the horse. The measurements of this back piece are about approximately 12 inches in width and about 7 inches in length. Now all of the other pieces are started and made the same way, except you have different sizes for the starting chains and also different size for the amount of rows. So I'm going to go over each of the panels. So far we finished the back panel that some of you may have put the zipper in. Now you need the bottom panel as well as the 2 side panels. So 3 panels, and they're made the exact same way. Again, this is the bottom of the horse, and then this is of the body, bottom of the horse body, and then these 2 are the sides of the horse body. You need 2 square panels, one for the front and then one for the back. The measurements for these are 7 inches in width and 6.5 inches in length. Now if you had a zipper in place, then you're going to need the little pouch that you're going to make for the bag for the zipper. So this is the little bag that will go inside of the horse if you have a zipper. So only make this if you have a zipper. The starting chain for this panel is 37, and it has a total of 56 rows. So starting chain is 37, and it has 56 rows. The measurements are 9 inches by 12.5 inches. So 9 inches by 12.5 inches. So I'm going to show you how to place the zipper portion for those of you that wanted a zipper on the back of your horse. So go ahead and get the panel, the back panel with the opening for the zipper. You also need your tapestry needle with the same colored yarn. Place your zipper panel with the wrong side up. Then take your zipper and you're going to place it so that the handle for the zipper, or the right side, is facing down. And then line up the zipper with the opening. And then you're going to take and turn the work over and make sure that the zipper's lined up with the right side. Then you're going to continue to make sure that it's lined up, and then you're going to start from the wrong side. Start from the inside portion. It's the inside portion of the zipper, and then just go through to the right side. Make sure that you leave enough yarn on the wrong side for burying into your work. And then you're just going to take and make small stitches for the right side. You don't want your stitches to show through on the right side. And then go right back through. And then go ahead and tie a knot. And then you're just going to go in and out sewing the zipper. You could take a little bit of a larger stitch on the wrong side. So here you can see that I'm going to sew right close to the zipper and then come back out on the right side. And the whole time you want to make sure that you're keeping your zipper on the right side as you sew everything in place. So go ahead, sew all the way down, and then come back. So this is how my work looks so far. I've made stitches all down the inside portion along the zipper. And then when you reach the end, I have a little bit that extends. The little flaps extend just slightly over the end. Don't worry about that. Just leave those unworked because this is the wrong side of the body. So those will just hang in the inside of the wrong side of the body. So now what you can do is cross over to the opposite side. So here you can see how I went over a stitch after I got to the end. And you still want to be careful on the right side because you don't want to mess up the look on the right side. So just make small stitches on the right side as you work on the wrong side. So here I'm going to make a stitch and go right back through, just kind of securing the flap in place on the wrong side and the right side. And then I want to come up about where I want to start sewing down the opposite side. So it's looking really good on the right side. You can't even tell that I'm sewing it in place with my tapestry needle. And then on the wrong side, I'm going to start sewing the zipper in place on the opposite side, the same way that you sewed it on the other side. Just make sure that your zipper is showing through the way that you want it to before you place your stitch. And then just continue on the opposite side, sewing it in place and making sure that it looks the way that you want it to look on the right side. This is how my work looks on the wrong side. And then on the right side, the zipper is sewn in place and opens up and then closes. On the wrong side, when you're finished, just take and tie a knot. Getting all tangled. Just going to bring it through, and then I'm just going to finish tying a knot down. And then, after you're finished tying a knot, then you can bury your work. So just take your tapestry needle and just weave the tapestry needle through your work. And then I like to go a couple of different directions just to make sure it's nice and buried. It won't come undone. And then as soon as you have it buried, you can go ahead and trim the loose yarn end. So go ahead and bury any of your loose yarn ends. So after you get your zipper in place, now you're ready to sew your bag in place. So go ahead and get the panel that was a chain of 37 and 56 rows. Then you're going to take so that the wrong side is on the outside and then the right side's on the inside. It doesn't really matter too much because this is just the inside of the bag portion that you're going to be creating. So then take and place your zipper so that the wrong side is facing up, and then you're going to take and line up so that the wrong sides are together, and then the right side is facing up on the bag, and then the zipper portion, the wrong side, is facing up. And you're going to line the bag up right along the zipper. I left a long end for sewing, but you just need the same colored yarn and your tapestry needle, and you're just going to take and follow along where you made your stitches along the zipper, and make sure that you line it up with the opening. So you don't want to line it up with the strap, free strap of the zipper. You want it at the opening of the zipper. And again, as you sew, you want to be very careful that on the right side that you're not making stitches that are visible or stitches that show up and look ugly on the right side. So make sure that you follow along and make small stitches on the side that's showing, and then just sew all along the inside of the bag, sewing it in place. Then, after you finish sewing the one side, you can take and fold the work over so that you can sew the opposite side. And you can open up the zipper if you need to. And then just sew the opposite side the same way. Just line it up with the opening. And then you're going to bring the tapestry needle with the yarn over, or you can just get new yarn, but I still have some left over, so I'm just going to bring my yarn over to the side that I'm sewing. And again, I want to make sure that my stitches don't show through. Then you want to line up the opposite side and then just sew down the opposite side and secure it in place. And then just get new yarn when you need to. And again, I'm checking to make sure that the work is not messed up on the right side. And then I can start holding it from the inside of the zipper portion. And then just sew right down the opposite side, securing it in place. So then you can see how I have the bag now sewn in place on both sides of the zipper. Then you're ready to take and sew both sides of the bag. So you just fold the two edges together and then just sew them in place. Just take your tapestry needle and the same colored yarn, and then you're just going to take and sew the bag all along the side on both sides. Make sure you leave again enough of a loose yarn end for tying a knot and burying into your work. And then you just take and sew down the side of both sides. So this side and then the opposite side to close up the bag. Now you have a bag for the horse body. The sides are all secure. Now we're ready to put the body pieces together, or sew the body pieces together. Now you want to take all three panels. You have the bottom panel of the horse and then the two side panels. And I have the wrong side facing up. If you look closely at your panels, you'll see kind of a dull side and then a shinier side. It's very subtle, so it doesn't probably even matter, but if you can tell that there is a difference, you're going to want to have the right side up. Now for mine, when I finished off, I left a little bit of a long end for sewing. If you did that, make sure you line that side of the panel for on the side that you want to sew with. So I did that with mine. And then you're going to take the bottom panel and one of the side panels. So I'm going to put the other side panel aside for now. I'm just going to use one of them for now. And then I'm going to take my tapestry needle. When you run out of yarn, you just get some more of the same colored yarn. Sometimes I like to make a little bit of a long end when I finish off so that it's less likely for it to come undone. Then you're going to take and pinch together or fold together the sides so you can sew them together. So this is the bottom panel and here is one of the side panels. And then you just take your tapestry needle and you just go in and out and then just sew the two panels together. As you sew, you want to make sure that the other side doesn't become uneven. So make sure that that side stays lined up as you're sewing across. One of the things that you can do to make sure that it doesn't go uneven is by taking any loose yarn end and just sewing it to the corner. You can tie a knot. And then that just helps to hold it so by the time you get down there, it's not going to be crooked as you're sewing these panels in place. So now you can see how I sewed one of the side panels to the bottom panel, and it forms a ridge on the wrong side, and then on the right side you don't have the ridge. So that's important to keep in mind as you're sewing these pieces together. You don't want to put a ridge on the right side. So make sure that your ridges are all on the wrong side. Now I'm ready to sew the opposite side onto the bottom panel. So I'm just taking my tapestry needle and I'm forming the ridge again on the wrong side, and I'm going to sew the opposite side. But before I do that, I'm just going to secure the opposite side. So this opposite side doesn't have a loose yarn end, so I'm just going to get some of my extra yarn, and I'm just going to sew this corner in place. Because I don't want my sides to be crooked. So I'm just going to keep this and just leave the loose yarn ends there, and then resume where I left off. Forming my ridge and then just sewing the opposite side in place. So now, after you finish putting the two sides in place, and this is the bottom, we're going to get the front and the back panels. Now you're going to turn your work so that here's the bottom panel, and then here's the two side panels, and the ridge is facing up, so the wrong side is facing up. Then you're going to take, we'll just call this the front panel. So this is the square for your front panel. And you have the wrong side facing up. Then you're just going to take your tapestry needle, you're going to pinch up the bottom panel to form the ridge. Make sure you line it up so that they're even. Both sides are even. You don't want to sew it on crooked. And then once it's even, you're just going to take your tapestry needle and then sew the front panel in place. And go ahead and tie a knot with the loose yarn ends. And then again, you can see how the ridge is on the wrong side. So you don't want to have the ridge on the right side. And then just sew it in place, making sure that it doesn't sew on crooked. Then, after you've sewn the bottom portion of the front panel, you're going to pinch the sides the same way. And then I'm just going to tie a knot here where I have my loose yarn ends. And again, the ridge is on the wrong side. And then I'm just going to sew up the side of the panel. Then you can see how I have the front panel in place. This is the right side, there's no ridges. And then on the wrong side, you can see I have all the ridges. So just make sure that as you're sewing the pieces that you do have the ridges on the wrong side. Now you're ready to get the back panel, and you're going to sew it on the exact same way. So you can see how I'm lining up the back panel the exact same way as the front, and then I'm going to make the sides the same, sew the sides the same way that I did for the front panel. So go ahead and sew the back panel on the exact same way. So now you should have the bottom panel in place along with the two sides, and then you also have the front and the back panels in place. So I still have the wrong side showing, and then the right side is still on the inside of your work. And now you're ready to place the top panel. So you want to make sure that the zipper is facing towards the front. And then actually it's facing towards the front, but you also want it to be so that the bag is on top, because you want the wrong side facing the wrong side and then the right side facing towards the inside. And then the first thing you're going to do is line up the side panel and sew the side panel in place. And for mine, I'm going to take and tie a knot on the back side where I have the long end that I left for sewing. And then I'm just going to turn my work so that I can sew the top panel to the side panel. Now if you don't have a long end for sewing, you can go ahead and just get the same colored yarn. And then just take and sew the top panel to the side panel. Then, after you've finished sewing the one side of the top panel to the side panel, just lift up the bag on the top panel if you have one. If you don't have one, then you just take the opposite side of the top panel and then line it up with the opposite side. I'm just tying down the loose yarn ends on the opposite side. Then you just take and sew the opposite side in place the same way. Now for mine, I wanted the top panel to be even with the opposite side, so I counted from the front end and I counted 25 stitches on the side panel. So in the 26th stitch is where I ended up with the top panel. So on the opposite side I just counted in 25 stitches, and then I'm taking the top panel and the side panel and I'm getting the same colored yarn and I'm just tying a knot to secure it. That way I don't sew it on crooked. And then I'll continue sewing the top panel to the side panel. Then, after you've finished sewing both sides of the top panel, you can take and finish sewing the back side the same way. Again, I'm on the wrong side with the ridges all on the same side, and I'm just going to sew this last portion in place. So now you have all of the sides sewn in place, and then you can turn it inside out so that the right side is showing, and then this is what your right side will look like. So go ahead and set the body aside for now. I'm going to show you how to make the legs. So starting with whatever color that you want for the hoof, I'm using my brown colored yarn. We're going to start with the magic circle. Just drape the yarn across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, then wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers, hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb, and then take your crochet hook, go ahead and bring up a loop, then yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through that loop for a slip knot. Then place 6 single crochet into the magic circle. Then just take and hold the base of the 6 single crochet. Go ahead and close it. And then turn your work to work into the first stitch. And in the first stitch, you're going to place 2 single crochet into every stitch around. So we're going to work into the first stitch. You're going to make 2 single crochet into the same stitch, and then make 2 single crochet into every stitch around for a total of 12 stitches, and then come back. Then, if you need to, you can turn your work over and just pull on that loose yarn end to close up the center of the circle. Then just take your loose yarn end, place it right where you left off. We're going to make our increase rounds now. We're going to increase the number of stitches in the rounds. So far we have 12 stitches. We're going to make 8 increase rounds. So for the first increase round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 single crochet into the second stitch. And then you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 single crochet into the second stitch. So you should have had 18 total stitches for that last round. For the next round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the third stitch. Repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. You should have had 24 stitches in that last round, and now you're going to make 1 single crochet into 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the fourth stitch. So you can see how there's starting to be a pattern. First we had 1 and then 2, next round 2 and then 2, and now we're at 3. 1 single crochet into 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the fourth stitch. Repeating that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So you should have had 30 stitches for that last round, and now you could see the pattern that we're working. We're going to be increasing all the way to 1 single crochet into 8 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the 9th stitch. So right now I'm on 1 single crochet into 4 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the 5th stitch. So you would just continue each round the same way, going in numerical order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 8. So this is what my work looks like after finishing all of the increase rounds. So my last increase round was 1 single crochet into 8 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the 9th stitch. I finished with 60 stitches in the round. So now just leave a little bit of a loop where you left off, and you can go ahead and remove your yarn marker, and then set this aside for now. We're going to make the horseshoe that goes on the bottom of the hoof. So go ahead and grab the yarn that you want to use for your horseshoe. And then you're going to take and fold the yarn over on itself, forming a loop. Then take your crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and your thumb, and then you're just going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through that loop for a slip knot. Go ahead and cinch that knot down. Then we're going to make a chain. I'm just going to show you 4 of them on video tutorial. You're just going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead, finish a chain of 46 and then come back. So a chain of 46. Now after you finish your chain of 46, you're going to make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So you're going to yarn over, go into the 4th chain from the hook, bring up a loop. Now you have 3 loops on the hook. Go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through 2 of the loops. You have 2 loops remaining. Yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the 2 remaining loops. Then you're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, make your double crochet, and you're going to make 1 double crochet into every stitch across. So 1 double crochet into each stitch and then come back. So now you should have a total of 44 double crochet stitches. Then after you finish your last stitch on the end, then you're going to make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Then turn your work and make 1 double crochet into the next stitch over. So just yarn over, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, complete your double crochet. Then you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the horseshoe, half of the horseshoe, in place. Then you're going to take, this is the right side. The right side has kind of like a ridge on it, and then on the wrong side this is what it looks like. So I mean, if you prefer this side, that could be your right side, but I think that the one with the ridge looks more like the horseshoe outline. So then you want to make sure that you have the 2 double crochet that you finished off with facing up, and then go across to the opposite side. Make sure it's not twisted, and then the second stitch from the end, you're going to join your yarn. So just bring up a loop, then chain 1, and then just tie a knot. Then you can take and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then just turn your work and then make a double crochet into the last stitch. Then you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the other half, and you may still need additional yarn too, but I always like to leave a little bit extra to make it more secure. And now your horseshoe is ready to be sewn on to your hoof. So now you just want to take and fold the horseshoe in half to make sure that you have the center of the horseshoe, and just line up the center with the edge where you left off, and then just bring the horseshoe around the edge. Then you're going to take the short loose yarn end and bring that through. Then you're just going to take your tapestry needle. You're going to form the edge, the little L shape with the horseshoe, and sew it in place. Just go in and out. sewing the edge to, sewing the horseshoe in place. And then I'm forming a little bit of an L shape as I sew. And then I want to make sure that I sew down the opposite side as well. And then you're just going to sew a little bit up the edge. You want to make sure you line up. After you form the little L shape here, you want to line up the edge of the horseshoe with the edge of the hoof. And then once you've sewn it a little bit in place, then you can take and wrap the edge of the horseshoe around, and then form the opposite side. Make sure that you line up the inside of the horseshoe so that they're equal. You don't want the edges to be crooked. And again, you're going to bring the small loose yarn end through. And again, I'm going to line up the edges. So the edges, I mean the other L shape size with this backwards L. Then you just take and sew the horseshoe down. So you can see how I have mine at the bottom of the horseshoe and I'm lining it up all around the hoof. And then I'm just sewing it along the inner edge and the outer edge and securing it in place. Now after you finish sewing on your horseshoe, this is what mine looks like. Then you're going to take your yarn marker, place it right where you left off, and you're going to make one single crochet into every stitch around. Now when you get back to the yarn marker, you're going to want to not go all the way to the yarn marker. You want to stop at the center point of the horseshoe and then come back. So now you can see how I stopped right at the center of my horseshoe. And this is where my yarn marker was before. I'm going to go ahead and remove that yarn marker because we're going to place it right where we left off. But I'm going to get an additional yarn marker now because I want to mark the opposite side. So what you're going to do is just take and count 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Just take and put another yarn marker at that point, and then that's where you'll know that you need to start making your single crochet 2 stitches together or decrease stitches. So then you're going to go back to where you left off, take your yarn marker, place it right where you left off, and then we're going to make 8 single crochet 2 stitches together, or 8 decrease stitches. So you go into that next stitch, you bring up a loop, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on the hook. You go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a decrease stitch, or single crochet 2 stitches together. And you're going to repeat that 8 times. So that was the first one. Here's the second one. Third. And then you're just going to kind of fold the work up. It's the fourth one. Fifth. Sixth. Seventh. and the last one, the 8th one. So we made 8 decrease stitches, or 8 single crochet 2 stitches together. Now you're going to make 1 single crochet all the way up to the yarn marker. So 1 single crochet in every stitch up to the yarn marker that you placed, and then come back. Now I've reached my yarn marker, and so I know I need to start making my decrease stitches. So I'm going to remove the yarn marker that I placed, and then I'm just going to finish making my 8 decrease stitches, or 8 single crochet 2 stitches together all the way back to my other yarn marker. So go ahead, finish your decrease stitches, and then come back. Then just take and move the yarn marker up, and then you're just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for 1 round. Now, once you've reached the yarn marker, we're going to take and count back 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then just place a yarn marker. And then that's where you know you're going to start your decrease stitches back to the yarn marker, the other yarn marker. Go ahead and move the yarn marker up, and this time you're going to make 4 decrease stitches, or 4 single crochet 2 stitches together. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're just going to take and make 1 single crochet in every stitch until you reach the yarn marker that you placed. Then just take and remove that yarn marker, and then you're just going to make 4 decrease stitches, which should bring you back to your original yarn marker. So 4 decrease stitches, or 4 single crochet 2 stitches together. So now I'm back to my yarn marker, and I'm going to move the yarn marker up to where I left off, and this time you're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch around for 2 rounds. So 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Now after you finish your second round of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and you can see how you formed the front of the hoof, and here's the back, here's the front. You have the little pouch here from those decreased stitches. Now you're going to keep going, so keep making 1 single crochet in every stitch until you're at the back of the shoe. Now when you're in the back of the shoe, you can go ahead and remove the yarn marker. You don't need that anymore. Now we're going to join the main color. Go ahead and take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, and then bring in your main color yarn, and then bring up a loop with that main color. Then you're going to go ahead and chain 1, then cut the previous colored yarn and just tie a knot. Then you're just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for a total of 40 rounds. So 40 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Now this part is optional, but if you want to use craft wire in your work, I found that these work really well. This is by Doris, it's Wired Accents. It's aluminum floral wire, and it's a 12 gauge. This one comes with 5 yards. It's a pink floral wire, but they come in different colors. They're very malleable, so you can see how you can just kind of bend it really easily. And I'm going to form mine into the bottom of the hoof. So the first thing I do is just check the size with the bottom of the hoof, and I want an extra amount because I'm going to wrap the wire around itself to coil it and secure it. Then once you have the size that you want, you can easily cut it with a pair of scissors. Then before you coil it, just make sure that it's the size that you want. And this is a pretty good size for me. Mine measures approximately 4 inches by 4 inches. It's approximately 21 inches long. It's approximately 21 inches long. Then once you're happy with the size, just take and coil the edges around. Then you want to take the same color yarn as the hoof, and you're just going to take and tie it to the end where you finished coiling it, this portion here, because we want to cover that so it doesn't protrude through your work and poke somebody. So we're going to cover it. So I'm just going to tie a knot with the yarn, and then you can take and just wrap the yarn around. So you're going to bring it through, and you're just going to wrap around that portion that's protruding and just cover it completely, and you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Then it's all ready to be placed into the horseshoe, but for now we're just going to leave it aside